The moment she said those words, time seemed to freeze. Mark's coffee cup hovered halfway to his lips as he stared at the beautiful woman across from him, the one who'd made him laugh for the first time in months. The one who now looked at him with resignation in her eyes, already preparing for his rejection. If you've ever felt that heart-stopping moment when everything changes in an instant, stick around. This story might just remind you why taking chances matters more than you think. If this resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories that capture life's unexpected turning points. Mark hadn't planned on dating again, not this soon anyway. His daughter Emma was only 7, and the divorce had been finalized just 14 months ago. The wound was still fresh, a tender spot he avoided touching. But his sister Jen had other ideas. "You can't hide in your house forever," she'd told him over the phone one evening after Emma had gone to bed. "You're 34, not dead." "I'm not hiding," Mark had protested, glancing around his living room. Emma's toys were scattered across the floor, and a half-eaten bowl of mac and cheese sat on the coffee table. "I'm parenting. You can do both," Jen insisted. "I know someone. She's smart, funny, works at the library. Just coffee. 1 hour of your life." Mark had sighed, running a hand through his hair that needed a cut weeks ago. "I don't know, Jen. Emma needs to see you happy," Jen said softly. "Not just surviving." That had hit home. The truth was, Mark was lonely. The nights after Emma went to sleep stretched endlessly before him. Sometimes he'd sit on the porch and look at the stars, wondering if anyone was looking back. Fine, he'd finally agreed. One coffee, no promises. And that's how he found himself sitting across from Olivia Chen on a sunny Saturday afternoon while Emma was at a birthday party. Olivia was everything Jen had promised, intelligent, with a quick wit and an easy smile that made the corners of her eyes crinkle. Her dark hair fell in soft waves around her face, and when she laughed at his terrible joke about library fines, something inside Mark's chest loosened for the first time in ages. They talked about books they loved, movies that had disappointed them, and the best pizza place in town. Mark found himself leaning forward, engaged in a way he hadn't been with anyone in years. He'd almost forgotten what it felt like to connect with someone new, to feel that spark of possibility. Then Olivia had glanced at her watch and sighed. "I should probably go soon. My sitter can only stay until 4. Mark blinked. "Sitter?" Olivia's smile faltered slightly. "Yes, for my son Noah. He's 5. She paused, studying Mark's face. Then she straightened her shoulders and said those words. "I'm a single mom. You can go if you want to." "I understand." The coffee shop bustled around them, but Mark barely noticed. He was too busy processing the sudden shift in the conversation. The way Olivia's expression had changed from open and warm to guarded and resigned. "Why would I want to go?" he asked, genuinely confused. Olivia gave a small, humorless laugh. "Experience. The last 3 guys I've gone out with disappeared the moment they found out about Noah. One actually said he wasn't looking to inherit someone else's responsibility." She made air quotes with her fingers, but Mark could see the hurt behind her casual gesture. "Well, that's..." Mark searched for the right word. "Ridiculous, and their loss." He set his coffee cup down and reached for his phone. Olivia's face fell slightly, as if she was expecting him to make an excuse and leave despite his words. Instead, he pulled up a photo and turned the screen toward her. "This is Emma. She's 7 and currently obsessed with space. She wants to be an astronaut, veterinarian, which I'm told is someone who takes care of animals in space." Olivia's eyes widened as she looked at the photo of a grinning girl with Mark's eyes and a spray of freckles across her nose. "She's beautiful," she said softly. "I'm a single dad," Mark said, "so if you want to go, I'd understand too." For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then Olivia's face broke into a genuine smile, relief and something like hope washing over her features. "I think I'd like to stay," she said. The next few weeks passed in a blur of texts, phone calls, and coffee dates squeezed in between work schedules and parenting responsibilities. They established a rhythm, checking in with each other throughout the day, sharing the small victories and frustrations that came with single parenthood. Noah refused to wear anything but his Spider-Man pajamas to preschool today. Olivia texted one morning, "I had to pick my battles." Emma informed me my spaghetti sauce is not as good as the restaurant kind, and suggested I watch some cooking shows. Mark replied, "The honesty of children is humbling." They were careful, though. Neither of them mentioned introducing their children yet. Mark had read enough parenting books after the divorce to know that bringing new people into Emma's life required caution and timing. Olivia felt the same way about Noah, as already had one father figure disappear. She told Mark during one of their evening phone calls after both kids were asleep, "I can't risk him getting attached unless I'm sure." "I get it," Mark said, and he did. Emma still asked about her mother sometimes, though the questions had become less frequent as time passed. Cynthia had moved to California with her new husband, and her visits had dwindled from monthly to quarterly to special occasions only. But as careful as they were being, Mark couldn't deny that something was building between them. He found himself thinking about Olivia during quiet moments at work, wondering what she would think of a news story he'd read, or if she'd like the song playing on the radio. It had been so long since he'd felt this way that he almost didn't recognize it at first, this lightness, this anticipation. One evening, about 6 weeks after their first date, Mark was helping Emma with her homework when she looked up at him with those perceptive eyes that sometimes made him feel like she was the parent. "Dad, are you seeing someone?" she asked. Mark nearly dropped the pencil he was holding. "What makes you ask that?" Emma shrugged, returning to her math worksheet. "You smile at your phone a lot. And Aunt Jen told Uncle Rob that you're finally getting back out there. Whatever that means." Mark made a mental note to have a word with his sister about conversations within earshot of his daughter. "Well," he said carefully, I have been spending time with someone. Her name is Olivia." Emma considered this, erasing a number and rewriting it. "Is she nice?" "Very nice," Mark said. "She works at the library and knows all about space books." That caught Emma's attention. She looked up, interest sparking in her eyes. "Really? Does she know about black holes?" "I bet she does," Mark said, relieved at Emma's apparent approval. "She also has a son named Noah. He's 5. Emma's pencil stilled. "Would I have to share my room?" Mark laughed, perhaps a bit too loudly from nervous relief. "No, honey. Olivia and Noah have their own home. We're just friends right now." Emma nodded, seemingly satisfied with this answer, and returned to her homework. But later, as Mark tucked her into bed, she asked, "Can I meet your friend Olivia sometime?" Mark smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "Would you like to?" Emma nodded. "If she knows about space books." The park seemed like neutral territory. Mark and Olivia had chosen it carefully. A place with a playground where the kids could interact naturally, without the pressure of a formal introduction. They'd agreed to keep it casual, just a Saturday morning outing that happened to include all 4 of them. Mark arrived first with Emma, who was vibrating with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She'd changed her outfit 3 times that morning, finally settling on her favorite NASA shirt and jeans. "Do you think Noah will like me?" she asked as they claimed a bench near the playground. "What's not to like?" Mark assured her, though his own stomach was in knots. This felt significant in a way he hadn't anticipated. He spotted Olivia walking toward them, holding the hand of a small boy with a mop of dark curls. Mark waved, and Olivia smiled. That same warm smile that had first caught his attention in the coffee shop. "Emma, this is my friend Olivia and her son Noah," Mark said when they reached the bench. "Olivia, Noah, this is Emma." Emma stood up straight, suddenly shy. "Hello," she said politely. Noah hid behind Olivia's leg, peering out at Emma with curious eyes. "Do you like Spider-Man?" he asked. Emma considered this. "I like the movies, but I like Captain Marvel better." Noah nodded as if this was an acceptable answer. "Want to see how high I can go on the swings?" Just like that, the ice was broken. The children ran off toward the playground, leaving Mark and Olivia standing awkwardly by the bench. "Well, that was easier than expected," Olivia said with a small laugh. They sat down, watching as Emma showed Noah how to pump his legs to swing higher. The morning sun filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows across the playground. Mark felt Olivia's hand find his on the bench between them, and he interlaced their fingers, a simple gesture that somehow felt monumental. "I was worried," Olivia admitted. "Noah can be shy with new people." Emma practiced what she was going to say to him all morning, Mark said, then completely abandoned the script the moment he mentioned Spider-Man. They laughed together, and Mark felt that now familiar warmth spread through his chest. Watching their children play together, seeing Olivia's profile against the bright blue sky, he allowed himself to imagine a future he hadn't thought possible a few months ago. But reality had a way of intruding on even the most perfect moments. The first real challenge came 3 weeks later. Mark had invited Olivia and Noah over for dinner at his house, another step forward in their carefully paced relationship. Emma had been excited all day, helping Mark clean the house and prepare spaghetti. Everything was going well. The kids were getting along. Dinner was a success, and Olivia had brought a chocolate cake that had everyone asking for seconds. After dinner, Emma had taken Noah to see her collection of space books, leaving Mark and Olivia alone in the kitchen. "This is nice," Olivia said, leaning against the counter as Mark loaded the dishwasher. "Feels almost normal." Mark smiled at her over his shoulder. "Normal is underrated." Olivia came closer, slipping her arms around his waist from behind and resting her cheek against his back. Mark turned in her embrace, looking down at her upturned face. He'd kissed her for the first time 2 weeks ago, after dropping Emma off at a sleepover. Since then, they'd stolen moments when they could, but always away from the children's eyes. Now, in his kitchen with the kids upstairs, Mark bent his head and kissed her softly. Olivia responded immediately, her hands moving to his shoulders as she pressed closer. The kiss deepened, and for a moment Mark forgot everything else, the dishes, the children upstairs, the complications of their situation. There was only Olivia, warm and real in his arms. Then the sound of the front door opening broke them apart. "Mark! Emma! I'm here!" Mark froze, recognizing the voice immediately. Cynthia, his ex-wife. Olivia stepped back, confusion written across her face. "Who's that?" Before Mark could answer, Cynthia appeared in the kitchen doorway. She looked exactly as she had the last time he'd seen her, 6 months ago when she'd picked up Emma for a weekend visit. Blonde hair perfectly styled, designer jeans, an expensive-looking handbag over her shoulder. Her eyes widened as she took in the scene Mark and Olivia standing close together, the remains of dinner still on the table. "Oh," she said. "I didn't realize you had company." Mark found his voice. "Cynthia, what are you doing here? You're not scheduled to visit until next month." Cynthia's smile was tight. "I had a business trip come up in the area. I thought I'd surprise Emma." Her gaze shifted to Olivia. "I don't believe we've met." Mark cleared his throat. "Cynthia, this is Olivia." "Olivia, this is Emma's mother, Cynthia." Olivia extended her hand, ever gracious despite the awkwardness of the situation. "Nice to meet you." Cynthia shook her hand briefly. "Likewise." She turned back to Mark. "Where's Emma?" As if on cue, the sound of footsteps thundered down the stairs, and Emma appeared with Noah trailing behind her. "Mom." Emma stopped short, her expression a mixture of surprise and delight. "What are you doing here?" "Surprise, sweetheart." Cynthia opened her arms, and Emma ran into them for a hug. Over Emma's head, Cynthia's eyes found Noah, who was hanging back uncertainly. "And who's this?" "That's Noah," Emma said, pulling back from the hug. "He's Olivia's son. They came for dinner. We had spaghetti and chocolate cake, and I was showing Noah my space books." "How nice," Cynthia said, but Mark could hear the edge in her voice. She turned to him. "Can I speak with you privately for a moment?" Mark glanced at Olivia, who gave him a small nod. "Of course," he said to Cynthia. "Let's step outside." Once they were on the front porch, Cynthia crossed her arms over her chest. "You're dating someone with a child, and you didn't think to mention it to me." Mark sighed. "We've only been seeing each other for a couple of months. I was planning to tell you when you called next week. And you've already introduced her to Emma. Don't you think that's moving a bit fast?" Mark felt a flare of irritation. "I don't think you're in a position to criticize my parenting decisions, Cynthia. Not when you moved across the country with your new husband." Cynthia's expression hardened. "That's not fair. You know David's job required the relocation. And you know that I've been raising Emma essentially on my own for the past 2 years. Mark countered. "I'm careful about who I bring into her life. Olivia is special." Something shifted in Cynthia's face, a flicker of what might have been regret, quickly masked. "I just want what's best for Emma." "So do I," Mark said, his voice softening. "Always." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared history between them. Finally, Cynthia nodded. "I'd still like to spend some time with Emma while I'm in town. I fly out Monday morning." "Of course," Mark said. "She'll be thrilled to see you." When they went back inside, they found Olivia helping Noah put on his jacket. Her face was composed, but Mark could see the tension in her shoulders. "We should get going," she said. "It's getting late, and Noah has soccer in the morning." "You don't have to leave," Mark started, but Olivia shook her head. "It's fine. Emma should spend time with her mom." She smiled at Cynthia, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "It was nice meeting you." After they left, with promises to call tomorrow, Mark felt a heaviness settle over him. Emma was chattering excitedly to Cynthia about school and her friends, but Mark's thoughts were with Olivia. He sent her a text once Cynthia had taken Emma upstairs to see her room. "I'm sorry about tonight. Can we talk tomorrow?" Olivia's response came quickly. "Nothing to be sorry for. She's Emma's mom. Talk tomorrow. X." But when Mark called the next day, Olivia sounded distant. "I think we need to slow down," she said. "Last night made me realize how complicated this is for all of us. Cynthia caught us off guard," Mark said. "That's all. It doesn't change anything between us." "Doesn't it?" Olivia's voice was quiet. "Mark, we're not just dating each other. We're creating connections between our children. What happens to Noah if this doesn't work out? What happens to Emma?" Mark closed his eyes, leaning against the kitchen counter. Emma was with Cynthia for the day, the house eerily quiet without her. "Are you saying you want to end this?" "No," Olivia said quickly. "I'm saying I'm scared. Seeing Emma's mom last night